brief us. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon. I'm expected to start this session today by telling you how it's an honor to be here. But I can't. Not if I want to be genuine to the suffering of my people. My biggest honor was and still is that I'm part of the Syrian revolution, which made me hold into hope with my fellow Syrians, chanting in the streets, daring to dream of dignity, freedom, and the state of law. I'm known by Waad Alkhatib, which is not my name, a name I chose to hide my identity from the security forces, the same mukhabarat that Omar just talked about, who arrested him and tortured him. Omar, who survived today and who gave us so much courage and hope. I talk to you today as an activist who protested, who was beaten, who was shot at, demanding democracy for my country. I talk to you as a mother who gave birth to my first child in a makeshift hospital in East Aleppo, where I was living with my husband, Hamza. Hamza, who's here today, he was an emergency doctor managing the last remaining hospital, which was deliberately targeted by the Syrian regime supported by Russia. I'm talking to you as a refugee who was forcibly displaced after the besiegement of Aleppo in 2016. And now, I'm hearing so many from your country's officials and media talking about how safe it is for us to be returned to Syria. Syria is not safe as long as Assad is still ruling. And I talk to you as a filmmaker, who I thought that my mission would be just to deliver the injustice I documented to the world. I and many Syrians, we used to have faith that the world won't let us down, that you, the Security Council, would do everything to stop the war crimes and the genocide in Syria. One of the women I filmed while we were in besieged Aleppo shouted to deliver this to you. She said, with a baby of 6 months old, film, let the whole world see this. At that moment, I was worried that I would let her down, that I won't be able to survive, and her message will die with me. However, the major disappointment came after I shared her shouting out to the world and to you. You refused to acknowledge, and this council refused to act. I talk to you today as one of millions of Syrian witnesses and survivors of what is defined as war crimes and crimes against humanity by laws that you states have created. But where is the outrage when your laws are broken? Where is the action? This council remains a spectator of the Syrian people. And if you think I'm angry, yes, for sure you are right. You have let us down. Your council held countless meetings through all these events of my life. There are 42 reports only by the UN Mission of Inquiry. And this does not include Amnesty, Physicians for Human Rights, OPCW, and tens of Syrian organizations' reports. And all of this, some of you now discussing renewing diplomatic relations with the Syrian regime and granting lucrative contracts to warlords to reconstruct the Assad's regime and what he has destroyed in our country. Because this council has failed to hold those responsible to account, we Syrians, along with states and international lawyers, have been exploring alternative ways to do so ourselves. For an example, closely with the legal team at Guernica 37, we are working to hold Russia accountable for its targeting of hospitals and medical workers before the European Court of Human Rights, a court stemming out of a treaty that Russia agreed to. The Russian state, the Russian judicial authorities, have done nothing to investigate and prosecute such conduct into the international loss of life. So we must now seek to hold the state accountable for its failures, and we will do so. We are also working with some states present here to establish collective international action against individuals responsible for the use of chemical weapons in Syria. The evidence is there. The perpetrators are known. All that remains is the will. It's essential that there is a credible international process to investigate and prosecute the use of chemical, biological, and other forms of forbidden weapons in Syria. And we have identified ways to do so. I'm here to ask you, how are you going to be part of the accountability effort? We are here today to seek accountability, not only to heal the past, but also to protect the political hope for the future. One day, Syrians will go out into the street. They will shout again, الشعب يريد إسقاط النظام. It's our responsibility today to make sure that they won't face war crimes. It's your responsibility, in your power, to prevent genocide, not only in Syria, but in the whole world. What messages are you sending to us, to your people, and to your children? What will the next conflict look like if impunity persists? It's okay to torture people. It's okay to kill children. It's okay to bomb hospitals. What sort of legacy are you leaving behind for the next generation? Today, as we speak, there's over 3 million civilians living in Idlib, facing the daily threat of their schools and hospitals being targeted, their villages of being bombed. We don't want them, and we don't want of them to be sitting in my place next year, briefing you again about what happened in the next year. We want you all to do your part to save them all. I'm copying what Omar asked for, what Catherine and Professor Lucas Klaus said. You have to save them all. Sama, my 6-year-old daughter, asked me before I come here why I have to go to New York City. I said, do you remember the kids in Idlib who the monster just killed? I have to go to speak about them. She sadly said, but they are already dead. Why do you need to go? For a second, I didn't know what to say. Then I told her, I'm trying. I'm trying to do my part so other children won't be killed. So I leave you today with this question, and adding another one to what Omar asked. If your children ask you the same thing, will you be able to look them into the eyes and say that you, as state members of the Security Council, are able to do your part? Thank you, Mr. President.